Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charlotte Walker and her husband Brad Cross are suing their former friends, Harvey Franklin and his girlfriend Nicole Garza, for unpaid rent and bills, vandalism to Brad's car.
Okay, you got to Taco Bell, you're both out of the car, you say to them, let's go to the neighborhood, which is around the corner from Taco Bell.
The Taco Bell is like in front of a bunch of houses and in a four-way street, so there was a bunch of houses around where they could go and go do whatever they had to do.
Okay, so let's go to the neighborhood. Go ahead. So, and what happened?
After he walked up to my car, he walked back to his car, got back in the car, sped off, and then I tried to follow him. He was gone. And then a couple of weeks later, I get a subpoena talking about that she's trying to get a restraining order on me. How you trying to get a restraining order on me? And y'all came to my mom's house calling me this and this and that, and gonna tell me to meet him at Taco Bell, and they try to get a restraining order on me? That's not right.
The one calling me.
And the judge threw her restraining order.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm listening to him. I don't want to hear you. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
We went to court because she subpoenaed me. She was trying to get a restraining order on me. Judge dismissed her.
Oh, just a second. Did you write in court about this incident that happened at Taco Bell?
Yeah, I did. That's why.
Just a second. You wrote about the incident when he allegedly hit your car.
Yes.
Just pay attention to me.
Okay.
And you had a hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
And the judge dismissed your case.
Because I didn't have the proper evidence.
Listen to me. The judge dismissed your case.
Yes, she did.
Me too. Shh. You get your phone bill, but you don't.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You get your phone bill because they can't yak up on your phone bill and you be responsible for that. That's not a necessary. It's not like food or clothing or shelter. They didn't want to use the phone. They shouldn't have taken the phone. They shouldn't have used it, and they shouldn't have used internet. He shouldn't have lied to you about destroying it. He should have given it back to you, all of those things.
Yes.
None of that is good. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Perfect. As far as this nonsense is concerned, it has already been adjudicated in another court, where another very wise judge said, forget it. You don't get two bites of the apple.
I was filing a VPO against him, not suing.
It doesn't make any difference, madam.
Okay.
It's the same quantum of proof. You do get your phone expenses, which is
Okay.
$680.
Okay.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gage versus Cowie, step forward, please.
19-year-old Danielle Gage is suing her ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old John Cowie, for several unpaid loans and for the cost to move after they broke up.
How old are you, Miss Gage?
19?
How old are you, Mr. Cowie?
25.
Miss Gage, it is your claim that you made a couple of loans to Mr. Cowie while you were dating.
Correct.
How old were you when you met him?
When I met him, I was 17.
When's your birthday?
In May?
And how old were you, Mr. Cowie, when you met?
23.
Were you working?
Yes, sir. Or ma'am, sorry.
What were you doing?
I was a manager at a Subway restaurant.
What are you doing?
I'm a pharmacy tech at Walgreens.
When do you claim you made your first loan to Mr. Cowie?
The first loan was made in September of '06, but he had paid that back to me. The second loan came in February of '07.
What was the second loan for?
I was informed by the defendant that his tires had been slashed at work and he had no transportation to get to work.
And?
And we talked about it. He said that he would give me the money when his first paycheck came in after the loan had occurred.
Why did he pay for his own tires?
Because he said he didn't have any money. He had just paid rent and car insurance and a payment on a car.
Where were you living at the time?
I was in my own apartment in Boise.
So you had rent too?
I did.
And you had a car payment?
My car's fully paid off.
Had insurance?
I did have insurance, yes.
So?
Okay, at the time my tires were slashed, was a little balls in debt, trying to figure out how I was going to cover it. She met us, me and a friend of mine, at a local bar. We were trying to discuss how we were going to solve the problem. And
Well, it's your problem.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. She showed up. We were actually in a relatively serious point in our relationship, looking at the potential of moving in together, even getting married. And she says, don't worry about it. We'll solve it. Here you go. Let's go get the tires.
And? What did you say?
I felt about 2 inches tall, taking money from a girlfriend.
So if you felt 2 inches tall, you probably said to her, I'll pay you back.
No, ma'am.
Oh, yes, you did. Because if what you said was, I felt about 2 inches tall because I was really stressed, then you would have said to her, If you were talking serious and marriage to her, you wouldn't want her to think that you were just a bloodsucker. You would have wanted her to think you were a person of character, so you would have said, as soon as I can, I'll pay you back.
We were at a point in our
And you
relationship.
had paid her back another loan.
Yes, ma'am, earlier in the relationship. We were at a point in the relationship where we were looking at the potential of even joining bank accounts.
Yeah, but you were smart enough not to do that with her.
Yeah,
Or she
things
was
fell
smart
apart
enough not to do
shortly
that
after.
with you.
I would say it was probably a mutual road. Yes, ma'am.
Good. So how much were your tires?
$400.
That you owe her. Did you pay her back?
No, I didn't.
What else?
I just wanted to point out that the only time I've ever been in a bar with the defendant is when we went to play pool, and it was not of hours of drinking. When he told me that the tires were slashed, it was in a text message and I was at school. I also would like to point out that we had never talked about joining bank accounts. Never. Good. I actually have a check that my bank returned to me. He claims that he did not pay for that $400. He paid me a check on the 6/28/07 of $200. That went through my bank account and then within the week was withdrawn because there was a stop payment put on the check.
What was this for, Mr. Cowie?
To shut her up. I was getting constant phone calls berating, vindictive ex-girlfriend, you owe me money, you owe me money.
So you gave her a check and then you stopped payment on it?
I realized I didn't have the money in the account to cover the check, so I stopped the payment on it.
Okay. What else does he owe you money for?
I took a withdrawal out at an ATM machine for $20 so him and his buddy Russell could go
Who
to
cares?
fishing. I also have moving expenses that I would like to sue for.
What kind of moving expenses?
Even though I was not living with the defendant, I was living relatively close to the defendant. With my past history and all of the emotion and anger, and when a guy gets angry, I get very scared. I specifically told him, don't come around. I don't want to see you.
Put your hand down.
And
Miss Gage, listen to me. That part of your claim is not actionable. What you're really saying is you have a history, and based on your history, you reacted to whatever angry messages he was leaving, so you moved. That is not actionable. But certainly the money that he owes you for the tires is actionable. What do you want?
He was making sure that he was playing upon the fact that she had been abused.
I don't have to go into that. It's absolutely not necessary. Sit down. That part of her claim is not actionable. She doesn't have to discuss it with me. The fact that she chose to move because they were living too close to each other for her comfort is probably a smart thing, but she had to make it within her comfort zone, which she did based upon her history, which is not his problem. You ever get a restraining order against him?
I did not.
Good. He owes you for the tires, $400. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Thank you.
All are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Fagundes versus Feinkela. Step forward, please.
22-year-old Mia Fagundes is suing her former friend, 21-year-old Chloe Fagundes. Her car. Chloe says the car was in bad shape to begin with.
Ms. Fagundes, your complaint alleges that the defendant was a friend of yours. You let her borrow your car. I think you were moving someplace, and she wrecked it.
Correct.
You want her to fix it.
Yes.
You had insurance that wouldn't cover her. The defendant says the car wasn't in good shape, and you should have had better insurance.
The car was in bad condition, and
Well, you shouldn't have borrowed it. The car was in bad condition. You don't borrow it. Did you have a driver's license?
not. I found out later at that.
I don't
time
care
it was
what you
suspended.
found. Did you have a driver's license?
No.
That's why her insurance company didn't cover it. That's what she said. That's what I read in the complaint. How dare you borrow somebody's car if you didn't have a driver's license?
Well, I didn't know that I didn't have a license at the time.
That's
and
ridiculous. What do you mean you didn't know you didn't have a driver's
I
license?
hadn't had the information sent to me about my license being suspended at that time, so it wasn't information that I was knowledgeable of.
I don't believe a word of that. That's just something you made up. You have a driver's license now?
No.
How come you don't have a driver's license now?
Because after the fact, I found out that I didn't have a driver's license due to previous tickets.
That you didn't pay?
Yes.
And you still haven't paid?
Actually, those are being taken care of right now.
Being taken care of how?
I'm paying for them.
Where do you work?
I'm a freelance makeup artist, and I also work at a bar as a bartender.
You live alone or with a roommate?
I live alone right now, yes.
You pay rent?
No.
You live alone and don't
Well,
pay rent?
I'm living with my mother right now. I'm in between apartments, so I'm not paying rent, technically.
So you don't live alone. If you live with your mother, she wouldn't like to say that you lived alone.
Okay. You're correct.
How much was it to fix the car?
It was $3,512.
Can I see the estimate in the pictures,
yes,
please?
You may.
Why didn't you just make arrangements to pay her a little bit at a time?
That was the original agreement, and then there was actually a situation where I talked to her about the car being in the wrong condition, and due to that, I felt as if she wasn't letting me know that her car was in that state. I wasn't going to.
So you were looking for a reason not to pay her?
I was looking for a reason not to pay the full amount.
Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. Get real, madam. That's all.
Parties are excused and they step out.
It's horrible when arguments between friends have to come down to going to court.
She was out of town. I wrote her an email.
It was a horrible shock. It's supposed to be a relaxing time, and it definitely put me on edge.
I wasn't going to be in town when she came back, so that was the best way for me to communicate with her.
Kind of panicked a little bit about how I was going to take care of it.
She was upset, but when we discussed how we were going to take care of it, it was an easier situation after that.
The car was kind of what broke the straw that broke the camel's back.
It's a little awkward right now.
We don't really have a friendship at the moment.
Hopefully we can kind of move on and put this behind us.
We'll see what happens.